Oh my gosh, where am I? Who am I? Where are we? That's right. We have been kidnapped for the Nullified Take podcast tonight, baby. I'm your host, Mucky Hope, and today I'm joined by a very special guest. You know, for the last couple of weeks, I've called him the Sexy Viking, but really, I feel like he's just a noodle muncher.
What do you mean, but really? What do you mean, but really?
He's just
Get
a
out of here.
nasty, stinky noodle muncher. You know, you come over to my place last night and you post on Instagram how, I haven't had any breakfast, I'm starving,
Nah,
and
nah,
yet
nah,
there are
nah.
noodle crumbs all over the
Oi, I
floor,
didn't
bro.
say I hadn't had breakfast. I said I was gymming on an empty stomach because I was.
But you had noodles, bro, and I had evidence of your crumbs on my floor, man.
You know what?
What's up?
I was eating in the darkness so I wouldn't wake you up. So that's why there were crumbs on the floor. I was like, it was
Yes,
almost pitch black, and then apparently you don't wake up to light, so it doesn't matter anyway.
I
But it's the
don't.
thought that counts.
It is, and I appreciate that. Just like how much I appreciate this very dramatic intro we had for such a dramatic donation by Andre Lee with a cheeky $10. Thank you so much, Andre, for the donation. Yeah, we love your support. You've been giving our channel, for the last several weeks, almost month now. I think it's been absolutely nuts, bro. Thank you so much for all your support. It's fantastic. But
Andre, do you want to pay my rent?
yeah, yeah, surely, Andre, surely. Curiosity is going to kill the cat, aka Brooke, so he should get her out of there. Yeah, well, we'll definitely dive into Brooke a bit later on tonight with the show. But let's also say hi to Ava. G'day, people. Hey, Ava. Hopefully, you're doing really, really well, and that life is, is going great.
I hope that life is going for you.
Yeah, hopefully. Yeah.
Hopefully
Anyway,
you're
so
pushing along.
but yeah, Traitors New Zealand, Hamish, week 4. What's your overall thoughts on the week and the season so far?
So for every week, well, excluding the first one so far, what I've been telling you is like this week is more chaotic or more tense or whatever than the last. And man, like I don't want to be a stuck record, but like nah, man, this week was so tense. You saw me when we were watching the 2 episodes on 3 Now website last night, bro. On the first of the 2 episodes of this week, when we got to the like the uh banishment voting, I was so you probably saw me. I was like,
Yeah.
oh goodness. So yeah, it's getting really really heated, and as we will see, I'm having to find a new one to root for.
Yeah. Yes. Unfortunately, our boy Dan has been eliminated. We'll definitely talk about him a bit later on, but I
I'm
feel
actually
like
fully cut. I'm gonna tell people that's the reason I got like really little sleep last night.
yeah, I mean probably that and the
I woke up
noodles.
from a dream of like Dan getting voted out. I'm like,
Sorry, I just have to bring this up. I saw that video, Maki. So Maki remembered to make sure the door is unlocked before you try to unlock it. Thank you so
if
much
anyone
for that.
wants to know what video he's talking about, just check out the Stag Zero Instagram. But we can talk about that later anyway.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely. And a new listener maybe to the live. Good on TJ. I wonder how Colin will play as the new traitor. We're definitely gonna dive more into Colin a bit later on, especially in the second episode of this week. But yeah, I was so happy to see Colin finally be recruited as a traitor. What's your thoughts on that, Hamish?
I think it had to happen. You know, like I think there's definitely some tension that's being brought up here. Um,
Hmm.
you know, between Brooke and Colin. I think that you've got these two very like passionate players with what they're doing. You know, they're very like like they're like the big kind of the big dogs, you know what I mean, as traders.
Yeah.
And I feel like, Colin's like waltzing into this conclave and he's like, this is my conclave now, you know what I mean? And Colin obviously, wants to keep keep doing his smart strategic game and all that. So yeah, man, it's you've got like a fire and another fire, and it's
Yeah,
pretty cool.
it's really setting up for such a great finale, which, I've watched a lot of New Zealand shows, and the one thing I found with especially New Zealand reality TV shows is that what really lacks is the strategy. That's why New Zealand Survivor got cancelled only after 2 seasons, because there was hardly any strategy. And the people who were quite strategic, not a lot of people respected them, because, Kiwis are all about mateship and integrity and your mince and cheese pies and the can of blue V.
Oh
But
yeah,
not so
bro.
much.
Very very.
Yeah, the very pretty. But yeah, but no one's really that into strategy. But I feel like with this show, not only has it been like very strategic kind of throughout the show for good and bad, it's the cast is just perfect.
Yeah,
I feel
no,
like.
yeah, this is a very cool cast. It's like a good variety of like different kinds of personalities, and they're just like all fun to watch, man. Like the way they all, I guess, connect and stuff, and how much of that's the editing, like I don't know, but like it seems, yeah, it's just yeah, it gives like season two Australian Survivor vibes, like straight up,
Yes.
it's yeah.
Yeah. As you know, this is my favorite season of Strange Survivor, even representing the King of the Jungle, baby, with Creepin. Yeah, something that I love about that season is everyone's a massive, hit on that season. And same here with the New Zealand Traitors. I feel like every person has been a massive hit, whether if you're a Kimberly or a Sam Fury who's in it for like literally like 20 seconds, or if you're like a Colin and the Brook who's made it so
To be
far into the
fair,
end game.
to be fair, like that 20 seconds, that
Yeah,
that was like the smartest move of the game right there.
it was.
Sam Fury, he's just like, bro, like my odds at winning this thing are not high, but I can get a free $10,000. I'm taking it. So,
Exactly. But don't
quality
forget,
content, quality
yeah,
strategy.
quality strategy. And let's not forget, everyone, we have a cheeky segment at the end of every live. We say what the most strategic move of the game was. So for week one, it was Sam Fury gapping it to grab the 10K. For week two, it was Julia saying that, if you vote for me, you can look like a fool afterwards. And for
Nice,
last week,
solid defense.
yeah, yeah, which is a great defense. And last week it was the 6 episode plan, which Kimberly was only in it for 5. Oh no, she was only in it for 1. Sorry, and that was the
She
takedown
planned
of
the downfall of
Robbie.
Robbie when
Yeah,
they were putting like the different color things into people's wine glasses in the first episode. Kimberly's like, I reckon like Robbie seems pretty suspicious, and then cast everyone's doubts on Robbie from day
yeah,
one, and that was Robbie's downfall. Kimberly was like the orchestrator.
and she was only in it for 1 episode.
Damn man, like
Yeah,
she planned so
she's
far
a
ahead.
game
I bet
changer.
she foresaw it, bro. She's
She
psychic.
did. We need Kimberly on the Traders New Zealand All Stars. She
Okay, bro, let's just get this going.
yeah,
Let's just
let's
move on.
start going. So we start this episode at breakfast, still left on a bit of a cliffhanger on who's gonna come into the Shrek's toilet hut, as I like to call it, to meet Brooke and Dan. And what I found so funny is that everyone who comes into breakfast, they start off talking about how great of a player Robbie is. Because at the end of last week, she was announced as a traitor. And I know we were laughing about this, obviously this is, no disrespect to Robbie at all, but she did so many suspicious things as a faithful to make everyone think she was a traitor. And then just the one time she was a traitor, that's when she gets voted out. So everyone's like,
Everyone's
wow,
like,
she had
she's
us playing.
good.
Yeah, yeah. Everyone thinks
Nah,
she was
bro,
the
like
original traitor.
the thing, like
From
Robbie
that.
seems like the bro. You know what I mean? She
Yeah.
seems cool. She seems very nice. But like that was pretty funny. Like everyone's been suspicious of her the whole time as a faithful. And then the day that she becomes a traitor, she gets voted out. And everyone at the management's like, "Oh, she's good."
Yeah. And Colin walks in, because obviously at this point no one knows, who's been put onto Paul Henry's tractor and sent to the farm, right?
Yeah.
And Colin thinks
For
that
people, new
Dylan.
people watching this, and if you don't know what that is, we're choosing the word to the thing that the traders do to eliminate players, like that kind of, you know what I mean? We can't say it out of not wanting to be demonetized. So getting put on the tractor and
Mm,
sent to Paul Henry's farm is the traders eliminating people. All right,
yeah,
continue.
yeah. All right. Thank you. And then hopefully they make a guest appearance on the famous show Country Calendar here in New Zealand. But anyways, Colin makes a great observation here where he thinks that Dylan would be the perfect seduction at this point in the game. What's your thoughts on Colin's read here on Dylan potentially being like the perfect seduction?
Dylan being the perfect seduction. I think that people aren't really pointing Dylan's name out, and because Dylan is already like the kind of like quieter, more like aloof, mysterious kind of, he's almost
Mm,
playing similar to Dan is, but like as a faithful. I guess like, that would be a good reason, but I think that at this point in the game, people are becoming more um aware of quieter people. I think at this point in
mm,
the game, because there are less people, silence is louder. Like
yeah,
if you're quiet in a room of 20 people, people are going to notice the other 19 people or the other, yeah, um, 18, whatever. Um, but at this point, it's like there are less people talking, so it's so much more obvious when you're being like subtle. Um, so I think that I don't know. I half agree with him.
yeah. I feel like Dylan he's been more of a vocal version of Dan, where Dylan he picks up on all these small things, right? Where sometimes I heavily disagree with the way he goes about them because he'll definitely pick up on something, which is very intelligent. He picks up on all the tiniest things, but sometimes it's the wrong read of a situation, and then he just
Right.
goes hard after that person, similar to Brody, and he does not waver. And
Yeah.
then, but some of his reads have been like massively wrong, like with Mike, that being probably the biggest fail he had.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
guess what it is like he sees things and like you understand where he's coming from. Like, oh, Mike did
Mm.
kind of sit back and not like, applaud or cheer or whatever, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, so you get it, but it's also like he's looking at individual things rather than like a cluster of things together, rather than like this person did five of these things which seem suspicious. They're probably a traitor. He's like, this person did this one thing which could in theory be literally anything else. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah. And we immediately get introduced to what the challenge is, which some members have been kidnapped, and the people that is left at the breakfast have to split up into two different teams to go and find the people that's been kidnapped. And what I love about this is that as soon as we're introduced to the mission, we immediately get a flashback to the night before, where Paul Henry explains the twist and they run down their ideas. Where since Robbie kind of did a bit of a shifty thing towards Dan by giving him a bit of a wink when he voted for her, they need to split up to try and clear sort of Dan's name.
yeah,
And
right. Like have more people in different places. Like like Brooke will talk these people into thinking Dan's all good. Dan will talk these
mm,
people. Yeah,
yeah, and something I found interesting is that obviously they paired each other up with who they're probably most closest to in the game that's outside of each other. So Dan, who was sort of with Justine and Kings, he's got a bit of a thing going with them, like Vanda as well. But Colin, he's really dead set on Dan at this point, and Brooke is with Anna and Julia, which we've kind of seen like the three of them have been hanging around each other a lot, and yeah, I just found that strategy to be quite interesting, where they perfectly splitted each other up to sort of cover all grounds. What's your thoughts on this
yeah.
strategy?
So I think it makes sense where Brooke was put in that way because they needed one of them to be
Mm,
there, and it makes sense for Brooke to be the one that's like kidnapped because they didn't know what the challenge is going to be, right?
yeah,
And so and the people that were kidnapped aside from Brooke, the Anna and Julia, like I think that makes sense. Those two are very like vocal and like influential people in the game at this point.
Yeah.
And so it makes sense to kind of just cut them out of the mix, and Brooke just kind of goes with them as like collateral damage or whatever.
Yeah.
Um, I think that Dan being on the team that was looking for the kidnapped, he being on the team with Kings and Justine, man, like he was kind of already like making them think that he was all good. You know
Mm.
what I mean? And so I wonder how. And I know that Vando straight away was just like, "All right, guys, we'll go these two teams. Like, let's not overcomplicate it."
Yeah.
It's not like he picked it that way, but yeah, I wonder if it would or could have gone differently had he been on the team with Colin and Vanda or Sam or just um the others.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I guess that's kind of a bit of a major what if for Dan, similar to how what if they didn't, seduce
I'm in the
Robbie.
bargaining stage of my grief for Dan, bro.
Yeah, yeah. But we do have a question here from Andre. Would you finish your breakfast before you started finding the contestants? Well, I know for you, Hamish, that you would have just, dropped the noodles on the ground and started gapping because
Yeah.
you like to do things on an empty stomach now, eh?
I reckon what you would have done is you would have like downed your eighth chalky milk of the half hour.
Okay. Okay, so for context, at work, they had a cheeky chucky milk that's 1.5 liters, and they reduced the price on it from $11 to literally $4.60 because it was about to expire. Me thinking it expires at the end of the week, I bought 3 of them, so that's 4.5 liters total. But turns out they expired today, so I had to drink 4.5 liters of chocolate milk in 24
Nah,
hours.
but you see, we didn't need the context because that's just your daily anyway.
I wish it was my daily. Oh gosh,
you, you have a problem.
yeah, I would definitely have a problem if that was my daily. But also another question from Andre: out of you two, who will be the driver and who will be solving? Now, this is a complicated.
That's funny because you can't do either.
Yeah, I can't do either. um, as Hamish would know, I'm a really bad driver, and
No,
also
it's not
my
that, bro. I reckon your driving's fine. It's just yo, let's share our driver's license. What is your photo? Sorry, let's go on. Let's continue.
But not only am I average at driving, I'm also really really bad with geography and like maps and like as Hamish can tell you, we've gone on a couple road trips together, and he's been like, "Oh, where should we go?" And I'm like, "Oh, just go right by that large tree." Or I'd be like
Yeah,
examining the roads because I know what the
and
road
there's
looks
not a
like.
right.
I'm like,
Just
okay,
go into that river, Hamish.
you need to cross Lake Topor right now.
Yeah, yeah. Put your car into boat mode, bro. So Ava says that she would have
No,
just chugged the coffee and jumped
and
around,
jumped
turned
around.
around. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like that'll also be a great strategy, especially for trying to find on the maps. But nah, so Anna, Brooke, and Julia, they're given like a bunch of different questions that they need to ask the contestants, and each answer like gives them a clue to what their coordinate is, which the first team to arrive at the wharf get to win a trip to the armory, and the team that wins is Dan, Kings, and Justine. But the start of this challenge is probably it's probably up there for one of the best Paul Henry quotes of the season, and maybe it's something we could do for our finale recap. Is what is Paul Henry's
Best
greatest
quote.
quote?
Yeah, he says some good.
Where they literally play the video, and he's just there drinking a cup of tea. He's like, what does he say? He's like, you've been kidnapped.
It's so just like
Yeah.
nonchalant, just like you've been kidnapped.
Yes.
It's so Paul Henry.
Yeah, no, I love Paul Henry so much. I feel like every week he just has something quirky about him, whether if it's, his one-liners like his cheeky little chickadees, or if he's just driving off on a tractor on his
He
birthday.
becomes more of a meme every week, bro.
Yeah, he does. And but unfortunately, after the challenge, we find out that Dylan is confirmed murdered, and he's
I
a
mean,
little
we
bit
kind of
upset
knew
about it.
during the challenge anyway.
True, yeah, but
It was
it's
like the contestants found out, I guess.
yeah, and we get quite a sad quote from Dylan, which is "Traitors, if you're watching this, I'd rather join you than be murdered."
Yeah.
And that's it. Yeah, no,
You
I
mean
felt
you
sorry for
mean
Dylan.
you mean he'd rather join them than be sent to the on the
Oh
farm
yeah,
with
yeah, to the
predator,
farm. Sorry, my bad, my
Yeah.
bad. I'm sorry, YouTube. I'm sorry. Please
Don't
don't come off
demonetize
this
us.
issue. Please don't. I meant the farm. I meent the farm. But
Don't
yeah,
send us to the
overall,
farm, YouTube.
yeah, I felt really bad for Dylan in the spot. While I haven't, as I mentioned before, I haven't agreed with a lot of his reads and plays he's kind of done throughout the season. He was definitely a very entertaining character throughout, with the sort of strategy and the drama he brings to the show. I feel like some contestants are more personality than strategic, but I feel like Dylan was one of those people where he was full on strategy. Yeah.
Yeah. He was thinking, like he said on one of the episodes, like how like he goes back to his like room each night trying to like like think about who that could be and like stuff, and he admitted that he has no clue, but like um because I think at that point he was becoming less confident with his like his you know puzzle problems, figuring out basically. But yeah, like the fact that like he's making this statement about always going back to his room each night and just like sitting there thinking like who is it and stuff, like he's clearly like really trying to play the game from a you know the strategic standpoint.
Yeah. And we come back to the house, and Dan is really in the hot seat for this vote. I feel like you had different sort of voting blocks almost. So you had pro Dan and pro Vander, because everyone's starting to get quite suspicious of Vander as maybe being a good seduction. So you had Colin and Anna, who are really going hard for Dan. And then you had Dan, Brooke, Justine, and Kings, who were going quite hard on Vander. And Julia, she was kind of in between. I think I missed someone out. Did I? No, I didn't. Yeah, and so you had Julie was kind of in between, and Sam, he was also a wee bit in between as well. What do you think Dan could have done to really get out of this situation? Obviously, Robbie, she gives him like a bit of a wink, which kind of heavily throws him under the bus at the last banishment. What do you think Dan could have done to really get out of the spot?
I guess Robbie's just a big game player, bro. Like,
Yeah.
no, yeah, bro. Like the thing is, I think the only person that probably saw Robbie's wink was Dylan. I think that
Mm,
obviously others noticed the staring. Like Anna said, she noticed it, for example. And the thing is, if he didn't bring up the wink, then he might, he might not have been as suspicious. But at the same time, on the chance that people did see the wink, he kind of had to be the one to own it. You know what I
mm,
mean? Like he did. So I get why he brought up the wink. But oh man, I can't help but wonder like if he didn't. Oh damn!
yeah.
I
He,
was rooting for you, man. um, nah. Yeah, I think that basically he just needed more time with the people who weren't you know um too keen on him being faithful.
mm,
Um, and less time with the people that he'd either sold or basically had sold. You know what I mean? I don't know. It just didn't really work out for him. Um, rest in peace, the bro. It's
rest in
okay.
peace, bro. Yeah.
I have to root for somebody else now, and if they get voted out, then or sent to the farm, then I'm just gonna cry,
You're
man.
done. Yeah.
I'm canceling the show.
But we do see an argument here from Dan, which I actually really liked how he was like he first put it onto two different fronts, right? Where the first sort of wave of defense he was using is by being like, oh, Robbie was giving me a wink because she's kind of like, yep, like you've got me.
Yeah, no,
on toast,
I
right?
thought that was pretty
Yeah,
intelligent. Like, I don't know if I would have come up with that.
yeah. And the other one he tried using was Robbie and I. We sort of had an alliance, we had a bit of like a pact going, and and he thinks
She's
that's
saying
why
like, "See
Robbie
you
was
later,
quite
friend,"
quite
kind
sad.
of.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, pretty much. Yeah, and he thinks that Robbie was just kind of a bit shocked that her friend maybe voted for her or something. And I quite liked the strategy from Dan, but unfortunately, it does not waver Colin at
yeah,
at all. And unfortunately, we do get to the banishment. Justine, she calls out, Vanda, on whether or not if she's potentially, like a traitor, but Vanda, she does her thing, which is like, nah, I'm faithful, I'm faithful. We do see, Dan and Brooke really try, to swing Sam across as well, but that doesn't seem to work. And a vote of 5-4, probably the closest vote
yeah,
we've had so far in
yeah.
Traitors New Zealand.
And
And
up until the last vote, Julia, it was 4 for 4. Um,
yeah,
that sounds funny to say. Say that like slowly. Anyway, so bro, like when we were sitting there watching it, and I was just like, "Come on, Julia!" And I knew that it was obvious Julia was gonna vote it for Dan rather than for Vanda. But like, I was just like, "Come
yeah,
on!" Yeah.
yeah. No, it's
Hey, no disrespect to Vanda though, but like,
yeah, yeah.
you were up against my bro. I don't know.
Yeah,
Well,
and something that I was just about to bring up. Thank you, Andre, for bringing it up as well. 3 shield holders got voted out in a row. So Philly, he won the shield, he gets eliminated. Robbie, she wins the shield, she gets eliminated. And now Dan, Dan went to the armory 4 times, but he only got it on his last one, and that was the time
that
he gets
dude, you know
voted
what I was
out.
saying last week about it being like a cursed shield?
Yeah,
I don't even want to
it's
go to the armory, man.
yeah, yeah. Why go to the armory at this point? It's only going to tank your game.
Yeah.
And but
Paul Henry
something
would be
that
like, "You're allowed to go into the armory," but like, "No, don't make me
yeah,
go."
yeah, yeah, legit. And something that I do like from Brooke when he voted for Vanda is that he really put in a good pitch. I think Brooke could maybe see that it was going to be a tight vote, so he didn't know which way it was going to go. So if the possibility of Dan stayed, I feel like Brooke's speech really would have helped, Dan be seen more as faithful, which is, we've been close friends for a while. We played, like I sort of know your poker face and stuff like that, and I know for certain that you're a faithful, not a traitor. Otherwise, I would have been able to pick up on it. So I like the Brooke sort of approach with that angle. It's a bit of like last ditch effort to save Dan,
Yeah.
but
But but
yeah,
but he also said that like he wasn't good at like reading the bluffs and stuff usually, and he's like, "Oh, a bit of the devil I know," kind of. But
yeah,
yeah, I guess he kind of like pleaded ignorance. You know what I mean? Like he's just like, "I don't really know. I'm just doing my best out here."
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, Dan gets merged. Oh no, Dan gets voted out, and that's the last of the OG traders.
Yeah.
Can you believe it? All the OG traders are finally being
Yeah. I'm sorry for
eliminated.
punching your TV. I'm kidding.
yeah,
I'm kidding. I'm not sorry. No.
yeah, I had to try sell on Trade Me, man. It was it was so hard. It was really hard. But overall, I love Dan so much. I feel like he brought so much strategy, especially from a trader's perspective as well. He brought so much strategy and so much just entertaining moments to the
Mm.
to the season. And I know that Dan's your boy. It was your number one, rooting
I was
interest.
I was rooting for him from the beginning. I was just like, because
Yeah.
like yeah, I don't know. He played the game how I feel I probably would have played, and then I was just like, cool. I'm gonna like play the game vicariously through
Mm.
Dan. Like, please win. But oh well, it was not to be.
Yeah. Unfortunately not, but definitely if there was, I mean, I'm not sure if there is any kind of returning players type season for traders because
That'd be
we
cool
haven't
one day.
we haven't hit that on any of the franchises, but definitely New Zealand was to bring back some players. Dan is someone who I think would be very
Yeah,
interesting on
I agree.
a return.
I agree.
But
But as a faithful, I reckon.
oh yeah, he would have to be a faithful. I mean, would you bring back traders and then make them a traitor again?
Maybe. I think that
I don't know.
you wouldn't. I don't know. I think that you would just basically pick it from like, because you know how Paul Henry picks it once they're already there. He doesn't
Yeah.
decide you know, from before he meets them. I think that he'd have to just go through each of them and be like, you know, I'm feeling you today, and just kind of go on the moment. Otherwise, it's too easy to calculate.
Yeah.
But anyway, now I'm having to switch allegiances.
Well, now that you have to switch allegiances, you've gone from rooting for your number one boy Dan. Who is your number one rooting interest now since Dan is gone?
I'm torn, bro. I'm torn. Like the obvious is to go for
I
Brooke
thought you were
because he's
Hamish.
like, uh, I wish I could do the thing where I like kick you off the stream, but you are hosting it.
Nah, it's my power, Hamish. I hold the power.
Nah, bro. Okay, so like I'm torn because it's like the obvious one is to be like Brooke, like, you know, he has to carry the torch now, like he has to be the sole one to like carry Dan's legacy, you know, and it's like
Mm,
the epic, you know, like it could be like the him like avenging Dan if he wins, and Brooke's like cool, like, you know, I think he seems pretty
mm,
gangster and he's like smart as well. But then also I was saying it last week, like earlier on in the game, somebody who I thought was playing more like in the back, I guess, that wasn't like quite as vocal, but became more vocal last week, and I think became a lot more vocal again this week, is Julia. And now I'm like,
mm.
bro, like, what if I switch allegiances to the faithful now? Like, what if I want faithful to win?
Oh,
So we'll see next week. I think I'll have to decide who I'm rooting for then.
yeah. Well, we're all looking forward to Hamish. Which side you're picking? The faithfuls or the Traitors?
Let's bet money on this.
Yeah,
Andre?
yeah,
No.
yeah. No, no, no. Um, but we go back to Shrek's toilet hut, as I like to call it, and Paul Henry's here waiting for Brooke, and I haven't fully seen all the other Traitors franchises yet, only just like clips and a few episodes here and there. So I'm not sure if this has been used in other franchises, but we basically get a twist where Brooke has to blackmail someone to come and join him. And I mean, I'm not sure if I like this very much because it's literally Brooke chooses someone to come be the traitor with them, but if they refuse it, then they get murdered. So it's like
They get sent to the farm.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, yeah. Get some time. They have to say yes. Yeah.
I like the concept in a way, but it's also like I feel like they should have just premised. I mean, I guess they okay now. They've obviously premised it as blackmail because it's thematic.
Yeah.
Like, you know, in effect, what they're doing is just making somebody a traitor against their will, because
Yeah.
like you'd have to be crazy, particularly this far into the game, to get that option given to you and be like, no man, I don't want to be a traitor, please just kick me off of this show. Like, who's gonna actually do that? You'd have to have so much pride. So yeah,
Yeah.
I guess
I would
it's
do it.
you would do it.
No.
I think, bro, you want
Yeah.
to be a traitor. Um,
Yeah. I would love to be a traitor so much.
Yeah, I think I think the way that the reason they did that is like did it that way is because it's like, you know, thematic, the whole like, you know, kidnapping, sending people to the
Mm.
farm, you know, blackmail, and it's just kind of like, you know, edgy, or, you know, what, like how the show is.
Yeah. And we see Brooke choose Colin. And oh, hang on. We go cheeky comment from Ava. No disrespect to Vanda, but Vanda would probably go to the farm before Traitor. Lol. I'm not sure about that because I think Vanda, she's really set on playing this game, and while she may not be as out there as a Brooke and a Colin or an Anna at this point, I feel like everyone's especially right now when you're so close to the end as well, you want to win that money, right? So I think maybe
Yeah,
if this,
I think you can see that she really cares about doing well in the game because, you know, i- in the most recent episode, you know, she was so much more I guess like more talkative because she was like trying to make sure people would like not vote for her and stuff, which obviously
mm,
didn't do very well for her. But you know, it's you could see that she was getting stressed because she didn't want to get
yeah,
kicked off of the show. And I have a feeling it's not just because she like had pride and didn't want to be seen as a traitor. You know, it's obviously because she just didn't want to get kicked off of the show. So yeah, I disagree.
yeah, and I think especially at this point, you're so close to the end game, right? It's like you want to win that money, right? And I think maybe the easiest way to win is being a traitor, because you can kind of, while you're not in control of the banishments, you're in control in terms of you're definitely not going to get randomly sent to the
Into the
farm,
farm.
right?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, right. That's
yeah.
a good
So
point.
so there's definitely, and plus you kind of know who the other traitor is as
Yeah,
well. So,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, and so you can kind of make your own alliances and votes and stuff like that
You could
from
say that
there.
there's safety in numbers only for traders, because like at the end of the day, the faithful might think that they have safety in numbers, but they don't know. You know, they
Yeah,
can't know for sure if somebody's faithful or not.
well, you say that, but I don't want to talk too much about this because it's a different show. But on the Australian traders, one of the traders has been specifically targeting their other traders to come across as more of a faithful. So it's like, you say safety numbers and traders who can kind of trust each other because you're on the same boat. But at the same time, can you really trust the
Yeah,
other
right.
person? Yeah.
Yeah,
And
and to be honest, we might see that happen with Colin and Brooke now.
yeah, I mean, we definitely get sort of hints of it because Colin,
Getting
I
back on
think,
track, Colin's the one who gets blackmailed.
yes, Colin, he gets blackmailed. He obviously takes it, he becomes a traitor with Brooke. But Colin is still very wary of Brooke because I think he sees that it was Brooke who had, definitely done that to Robbie. Definitely Brooke and
Mm,
Dan were, leading the charge against Robbie. So I think Colin may have picked up that, okay,
it's pretty
Robbie was
smart.
probably Robbie was probably seduced just so then they can throw her under the bus like that. So
Yeah,
immediately
yeah.
Colin doesn't really trust Brooke. And, they're trying to decide who to send to the farm. And they've got, a bunch of different options. They've got Julia, she's one. But Colin sort of disagrees with that idea because Julia has got a bit of rivalry with Kings. Another name Brooke brings up is Kings, but since they kind of have a bit of rivalry with each other, they don't.
And same also Anna is getting for Kings as well. Like there's a bit of,
Yeah, and Anna.
you know, a thing there.
Yeah, and also Justine, which unfortunately Justine does get sent to the farm. What is your thoughts on their pick of sending Justine to the farm?
Yeah, I think that Justine is not I think she's playing more with her head than her heart. And I'm not saying
Mm,
that there are any players who aren't playing with their head. I think they all are. Like to be this far in the game, you have to be, pretty onto it. Well,
yeah.
it generally, yeah. But yeah, I think there are some players who are probably more, playing from the passion side. Like so, for example, like Anna. I think that I think I would call Anna like a more strategic Brody. Like
Mm,
she's got that kind of Brody. Like I'm gunning for this person. I'm like so like invested in this thing. Like kind of yeah, playing from her heart more. But I also think
yeah.
that she hasn't put a target on her back as big as Brody did for herself. I think Anna probably saw that happen, and then she's like smarter about the way she goes about it. Um,
Yeah.
but anyway, so people like Anna who play, from their hearts, I think that it's better to keep them around because as long as you can keep them on the wrong person, then
Mm,
you know they're more likely to be tunnel visioned. And I think Justine isn't necessarily like gunning for somebody or doesn't have a vendetta for anyone, or not that anyone has anyway. But yeah, I think Justine's more just very like considerate of it all, and then so she's kind of dangerous at this point for that reason.
yeah. Yeah, 100% agree with you. And Julie and Anna, they're definitely going after Kings. Kings is kind of going after them. Well, he was for a while. So Justin's the sort of perfect person where she's not necessarily going after anyone. No one's really going after her. So she's kind of in the perfect
Mm.
middle spot of just take her out. So there's some confusion, but you still kind of keep the rivalries in the game
Yeah,
as well.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah, but
Yeah, keep people off of the scent.
yeah, and we get a very wild breakfast this morning, Hamish. So we have Colin come in, and Colin does something extremely smart where he throws out Vander's name and Sam's name as people who'll be really good as a seduction, right? So he's kind of thrown smoke and mirrors almost, where it's like, these two people are like quite quiet. So if you were to seduce someone, they would be a great person to seduce because it would kind of keep the traitors numbers up.
Like that's interesting you say that because Sam is simultaneously quiet and not at all. Like he actually is
Yeah.
quite outspoken, but he's the kind of like really hopeful, um, idealistic, outspoken where I think he kind of like wants the best for things, and so he seems like kind of sweeter and like like, oh, he wouldn't hurt a fly, and so I
Mm.
get Colin like he's like it's easier to say he would be a good trader.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And, we do see a bit of an alliance form here, where it's Colin, Anna, Julia, and Sam. The four of them all kind of look at each other. It's like, yeah, all of us are definitely faithfuls. All sort of have their pact. But here's where, and I think this is probably my favorite part of the whole episode, where
You
we get,
you was way too hard on this
yeah,
next part. I saw the merit in it, but go on.
yeah, where Kings he just walks in and he's like, okay, everyone, I've got a great a great plan, right? And they're like, okay, what's the plan? And he's going to call Brooke out, which originally I thought it would be, oh, he's going to call Brooke out for maybe being like a traitor or something, right? But nah, he's calling him out for being a selfish faithful, not as a
Yeah.
traitor, being a selfish faithful. And Brooke he comes on in, and King's right out the bat is like, hey
He's like,
Brooke,
I'm voting for you tonight.
yeah, I just want to let you know, brother, I'm voting for you. I'm voting for you tonight. And Brooke is just shocked, and he's just like, because I think you're a wee bit selfish. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Okay,
Yeah,
man. Like,
and,
I am okay with King's Play / strategy. Yeah, Andre, like
yeah,
I see the merit in it. Like I don't think it was executed as well as he'd hoped for, but like I got what he was trying to do. Like, and it did work. It actually
yeah,
worked. Like he figured out who one of the traders was because of it. Not everyone's believing him, but he still figured it. So, you know, I feel like it was like a subpar strategy that worked. It worked, but like not super well because now people don't trust him. But at least he's figured out who a trader is. We'll get to that.
yeah. But also step two of his plan is that after breakfast, he goes like he sits Brooke aside, he sits Sam aside. He's like, "Hey, don't worry, Brooke. I trust you a lot. Don't you worry. I trust you a lot. I threw you under the bus, but I trust you a lot." And
Throwback to ages ago when Colin's like, he's like, Vanda, I think you're faithful.
yeah, yeah. and King's just like, I was just kind of seeing everyone's reactions, and this is where I can see the strategic part of it, like what you were saying, what Andre sort of brings up, being okay with the strategy, because this next part does actually make a lot of sense, where he's kind of seeing who he's like who's going to really push hard for Brooke after he said that, and who's kind of not really saying anything, right? So that way he's able to
Mm,
pick out who could be a trader and stuff, who's willing to just randomly
yeah.
jump on that.
Who's just
But
being
then
really agreeable or yeah.
yeah, but then it gets completely debunked, in my opinion, with literally this next bit where Brooke and Sam are like, okay, so what's your guess? What's your name? And King's like, oh, don't worry, I know what I'm doing. And they're like, okay, what are you doing? And they've had this whole conversation where it's like, okay, but we all need to be on the same page. Otherwise, if them four stick together, it's going to be 4-3, or if we will vote differently, it'll be like 1-1-1, and no matter what, they've got the majority. And King's is like, huh, yeah.
I guess the
And
answer to that was just
yeah,
like what we're doing is like figuring that out during the day. We're gonna have to communicate about it throughout the day or like before we go
hmm,
to the banishment or something. Like let's just like see how people are on the challenge. The point of the strategy is so that we can see how people act today,
yeah,
and then let's like kind of like recon you know later on, and then we can figure that out. And then it just didn't go like that. But like I think that was the point. That was the
yeah,
idea, and then I think that they all just got confused when they were like communicating about it, and then they just didn't really. Yeah. So like I
yeah,
say, it was like a a subpar plan that did work, and it was subpar because it was just, I don't know, it was
Yeah, it
high risk,
somehow
medium reward.
yeah, it somehow worked. I will give him credit. His plan did work because he was able to identify that Colin is a traitor. But
Yeah,
it was, this is what I like to call a Michael Hook move or a mucky move, right? Where you just do something so chaotic and it doesn't make a lot of sense. It turns out to be right, but since it's so chaotic and doesn't make a lot of sense, no one really sort of jumps on board. And I've mentioned
yeah,
that,
yeah. The thing is, right, that Kings has been not playing. He hasn't been playing like this, right?
yeah,
And so it's like for him to just suddenly start playing like this, I don't think that's necessarily like bad for him, because I think people, like, he explained what his strategy was at the banishment, but
yeah,
because it was the morning after somebody was blackmailed,
mm,
I think that like this would indicate like he's now a traitor and he's trying to come across as a faithful, and he's just like caking it. You know what I
yeah,
mean? And so he just looks like he's cracking under the pressure of being a traitor. Wrong timing to do it. Yeah, like dude, like, I'm
yeah.
actually all for this strategy. Like, I actually don't think it's a
Okay,
bad strategy. It's yeah, just it just wasn't like, it didn't have all the everything ironed out. You know?
yeah. Which something I was going to bring up is that this move is something that I used to do. Way back when we used to do Mafia and theater sports. Ava, you were there with us during theater sports as well, where I wouldn't even be like any sort of character in Mafia Werewolf, but I'd still be just trying to throw people under the bus for no reason. But unfortunately, that's why I always kept on being either A, sent to the farm, or B, voted out during the banishment because no one would just.
You know that I think there's like a
Yeah,
quote of something from The Dark Knight, um, and it's something along the lines of some men just want to see the world burn.
yeah,
That's you. You
that is
are
me.
some men.
That's definitely me. And we get sent on to the mission here, and at first I was a wee bit confused by this mission because there's something about like accounting and stuff, but then I actually realized by accounting, Paul Henry put those words together, but it's literally a counting challenge, right? So
Yeah,
the players are in pairs and they must count to 13 minutes and 13 seconds exactly. When they think they've reached that point, then they stand up and they say that they're done. But while the players are counting, there's like a lot of noises, in the background. You've got people coming in to try and like distract them and stuff like that. And the team that's the closest to the actual time wins the trip to the armory. What did you think of this challenge as a whole?
I liked this challenge, and while we're getting into, like, before we've explained what actually ended up happening, I like Andre's question. Um,
Yeah.
would you
Would you
go
go solo
solo or
or
partner
partner
up?
up?
So okay, I think that okay, look, so Kings went solo, and he got pretty close. He did pretty well. And so I really think like it depends how easily distracted you are, like, how well, and Kings is a musician. You imagine he'd have decent rhythm, right?
Yeah.
But I like to think that things like that wouldn't throw me off. Like yeah, it's like it was spooky because it was meant to be like ghosts in the room, but if you rationalize it, right, if you just like think about what's actually happening, like there are just people that are getting paid to drop pans, and you don't
Yeah.
necessarily know they're going to do that, but as there are distractions happening, like this is just these people's job. Like, I'm not in any danger, I literally just have to keep counting.
Yeah.
um I like to think that I would be able to get through it, and that hopefully just by doing this, like, minute hand, second hand or something, I like to think that I would get through it well. But I mean, Colin thought he was pretty onto it, and he was pretty far off.
Yeah. He was miles off. Yeah.
Um, so I don't know. I would probably go alone. Just being untrusting of other people, like not wanting to be let down
Hmm.
by my teammate. Um,
Yeah.
but
Actually,
yeah, what about you?
I mean, I'm someone who actually works well with a lot of distractions and a lot of chaos, which you probably know that about me, Hamish. When there's like a lot of, I guess, noise and chaos, I just need a moment to just be like, okay, let's go, right? And I kind of just sort of thrive in that sort of environment. So I feel like I could have probably done this solo, but also at the same time, when it comes to doing like the bare minimum or like the basic things, this what I'm mostly really bad at. Like I can't draw a circle, I can't cut in a straight line with some scissors. So I feel like counting to 60 13 times,
And then another 13
and
seconds.
then another 13 seconds with a bunch of noises and distractions, I definitely would just be all over the place. But Andre brings up a really really great question here. If you two were partnered up for this challenge, who would be the counter?
Um, do
I feel
you
like
think
you.
do you think that you would not like being the minute counter, right? Not the second counter. Do you think that you would like have like like three fingers up and then be like, oh, did I have three or did I have four? Like, do you think you'd be able to hold on to it well? Because I think I would be all good counting to 60 over and over. Um,
Yeah.
but if you think that you can hold on to the minutes, if you're worried you'd forget how many minutes you've done, then I would do it. Like basically, I'll just take what you feel less comfortable doing.
I mean, I'm someone who also gets distracted very easily as well. So I feel like I would have like seen everyone walking around me, and I'd be like, "Ah, yo, what's up? What's up?" But at the same time, I mean, this about me as well. I'm definitely a massive overthinker. Like I overthink every tiny little thing, and so by holding up three fingers, I'm like, wait, is that three or is that two? Is that three or is that two?
Yeah.
Or maybe did it?
Did I miss
Or
one? Yeah. Okay.
did I have a fourth one? So
You
I feel
can
like
count to
either
60
way,
over.
yeah, I mean, either way, I feel like I would still find a way to stuff it up. That's if I've got one talent, it's making the easiest things look impossible. And
Just
so,
just like sing one of my songs in your head, but at like 60 BPM.
yes, 60 beats per minute.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, I I'm not one to really brag or anything, but I played the trumpet in 2015, so I know a tiny bit about music.
Well, one time I went to go and make a cup of tea with two tea bags because I was like I want the extra caffeine, and I accidentally put in three.
Wow, you must have been pretty doped up on caffeine
Yeah, man.
from tea. Wait, but tea bags doesn't give you caffeine.
Yeah, English breakfast has a bit of caffeine in it. So does green tea.
Oh, oh,
That's
really? I
why
have
I
no
have
idea.
so much tea,
Oh,
bro, because I've cut out coffee.
oh, okay, that makes sense. That makes sense.
Hmm.
And I think from Ava, King's got the short end of the stick for this mission, and Colin's yeah,
Too into it.
yeah,
Colin would be Andre because Colin was so like, oh, like I love all the spooky stuff. You saw him being so excited by everything going on. Andre would be
yeah,
like, I love horror movies.
yeah, yeah. And I've shared this story with you, Hamish, but earlier this year I went to Spookers, which is a sort of horror attraction site we have here in New Zealand, and I'm a very loud person. And all the actors recognize that and they're like, okay, this is someone who we can mess with, right? So quite often with all the actors, I would try start a conversation with them, even when you're not really supposed to. I'll still try to start a conversation, and it just opened the door for them to just roast me as hard as they can. Like probably the greatest example is a clown came up to us and she was like, "Are you scared?" And I said, "No, I'm Michael." Just throwing out the dad joke, and the clown, she found that pretty funny because normally most people would be like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, but the
Mm.
clown started following us throughout the whole sort of
And she was like, hi,
the whole
Michael.
thing. Yeah, she could have been like, Michael. I was like, oh my gosh. But probably the most funniest thing, which everyone still laughs about, with the group that went, is that she said to the group behind us, because all the groups are close together, are you scared or are you Michael?
That's pretty funny.
Yeah, so
Um,
I
anyway,
did feel
back
like
to the
similar to
challenge.
Colin, I would have been, so into it, right? Where to the point where I would have started like, like
Being
talking with the
distracted
people
by
there.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
You would have been like, bro, like that's such a cool black T-shirt you're wearing, and I would have been like, Michael, are you counting?
Yeah. And I'd be like, wait, I was meant to count? Anyway, so we see these peers. You have Brooke, Sam, Anna, Julia, Colin, Vander, and then Paul Kings by himself. And I just want to point out, I love the relationship development we have between Colin and Vander. You know, right at the start of the season, we've got Colin spreading Vander's name around on her being, a traitor. She's not just Vander, she's Darth Vander. And then, we have that moment where Colin's like, Vander, yeah, I think you're faithful. And then everyone just blows up at Colin. But they seem to be like working together really well kind of since then. We often see them like together in challenges and everything.
Except for the fact that they got 19 minutes in this challenge.
Yeah, except for that, yeah. They work together as a team, but they don't work well in the challenges. Does that make sense?
No, but just keep rolling, just keep going.
Okay. And Anna and Julia, so they get the closest time and they win the trip to the armory. And Anna wins the shield. When she won the shield, did you think Anna was going to get banished because of the curse?
To be honest, earlier on, I was kind of like, get rid of Anna because, I was worried about her, voting for Dan. But now that Dan's gone, like, Anna's all good. Like, she's the bro. Like, I hope, I guess, no, like, I think I want the bro to stick around,
Yeah.
Yeah, believe it or not, I don't know if I should be saying this. There's not actually a curse.
Yeah, it's not the curse ends up getting broken at this banishment. But
the curse gets broken when it's a traitor who gets voted out with it. I mean, yeah, that's what I mean.
No, because Philly had the shield, but he was a faithful. Then it was Robbie.
Oh,
then
but she was a
Dan.
traitor.
Yeah, Robbie was a traitor, yeah. But
dude, Andre's gunning for the bro. Andre's gunning for the bro.
Oh,
damn, man! All right, I'm sold. I want to go to war against Andre now. That's who I'm rooting for. I'm Team Julia now. Who's Dan? Dan who?
Yeah, Dan who's all about Julia now, right? And but we do see that Kings is very sus on Colin. We sort of mentioned earlier, that the Kings, he does have the right read. He's able to pick up as Colin. But at this point, I feel like he's lost so much influence in the game.
Yeah.
And I think
right.
if he had any, he definitely lost all of it with the breakfast that morning. What's your thoughts on that?
I think that Kings is probably in the drawer for your segment, bro.
He might be in the drawer.
Let's bring it up now, and because then we'll come back to our final decision, obviously at the end of this episode. What is the smartest move of the week?
Oh, wait, get ready. We forgot something. We forgot the
intro.
MC Mucky. Hit me with a beat, Hamish.
Do you want me to beatbox?
Yeah, you got a beatbox.
Okay, let me try.
Hey, it's the smartest move of the week coming to you on the nullified take. We like to think it's the mucky take, but really it's a nullified take. We're here with the smartest move of the week. I don't know what rhymes with week, but here it is, the smartest move of the week.
Dude, thank you for when you stopped drumming on the thing, like we were not in the same time as one another, either because of the delay or just I don't know, man. I don't think we're at the same tempo.
No, we're not.
I was having to shut my eyes and try to feel.
I think maybe I think what's so special about our theme song is that it's completely improvised, so we don't know what the tempo is going to be, what the words is going to be. It's just whatever just naturally comes to us, But I feel like the theme song, it's great, it's perfect. But I've got 2 moves for the smartest moves of the week. How many moves have you got in your head?
Uh, I'm just gonna wing it, bro. We'll just see. I'm just gonna riff. I'm just gonna riff. What are your
Okay.
moves?
All right. So my moves are the obvious one is the king's one, right? Where you straight out, where you target someone at breakfast, not because you think they're a traitor, but because
Because you're
because they
sure they're
think,
not.
yeah, because you're sure they're not. It's because they're a selfish faithful to then tell them that actually you're all good with them. You trust them a lot. You're just seeing other people's reactions to then not properly explain your full plan to the person that you just threw under the bus to everyone. So that's obviously
But
one.
also that you can find out Colin's a traitor. Pretty smart, bro.
Yeah, very smart, very smart. But here's another one though, and I think you're gonna like this. When we were sort of roughly talking last night, I sort of had one move in my mind, and it took me everything to not tell you this because I started cracking up so hard. It is the only intentional strategic move Robbie has made in the game, which is wink at Dan to make everyone suspicious that he's a traitor to get him eliminated in the next round.
It's not funny. That's pretty golden. I got
Yeah.
I got a few
All right.
that I came up with on the spot now, so they're all pretty mid. Um One of them was I think it was pretty smart of Sam to have that blue soft toy that he did as a kid, because that
Mm,
way when it came to this challenge they had an easy question. So by
yeah.
him preparing for this like probably decades in advance, like he
Yeah.
was already ready. The other
Yeah.
one isn't actually a move by one of the players, but rather one of the players' parents giving the kid the middle name Margaret. Um, because then when it came to the fourth letter of their name, it's like easy G, like we've already got the letter. So that was pretty
Yeah.
smart of them to give their kid the middle name Margaret. Um, pretty good bros. Um, and the final one, the final, I reckon this is my smartest move of the week, and this happened a few weeks before this week, right? It was
Okay.
it was Colin calling out Darth Vader so that when later on he would get blackmailed to become a traitor, people would already be gunning for Vander because she's got suspicion on her. So he basically pulled a Kimberly, but he didn't get voted out in the process or sent to the farm in the
Hmm.
process. So it was Colin definitely intentionally planning Darth Vander's demise from very early on. That is that is my smartest move of the week. Namaste.
Namaste. We've got one from Andre. Let's quickly go up. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? It is here we go. Smartest move of the week, piling on Vander due to we got hit with the crocodile tears by Vander on day one. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, there's also a bit of a smart move. Yeah, so I guess we'll save our final decisions for the end of this recap, Hamish. But definitely keep a strong mind on what you're going to lock in for the smartest move
I'm
of the
not
week.
locking in on Robbie getting rid of Dan. I said Dan who before, but I am actually cut.
oh,
Ari,
oh,
Dan,
yeah,
Sam saying Anna faithful because she swore her children. Oh yeah, she swore
oh yeah,
on her children's lives.
oh yeah. Hamish, I don't think I've told you about Johnny Fairplay, but he changed up the family visit in Survivor, where I think it was his brother or his cousin or something, but got them to come on in and tell Fairplay that his grandma had died. And so it's like a really sad emotional moment, and everyone's like, "Oh, Fairplay, you have the family visit. You need to know about your grandma." The grandma was fine. It was just a lie to sort of get sympathy from the other players and stuff to kind of let him have his time with his brother or his cousin or
That
something.
is not fair play.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that was not fair play. But, yeah, it was yeah, like I still recall watching the finale of that. They even like had his like grandma, like that interviewed his grandma, like, did you know that Fair Play was going to do this? And she's like, no, I had no idea that they were going to lie about this. Oh, it was his best friend. It was his best friend. My bad. This is
Even better.
his best friend. That's much better. Ava saying that she'd be the worst traitor because she'd be pulling every sympathy card until she was out. Yeah.
Bro.
Yeah.
Why
What
are you gonna
actually?
be like that?
if you were a trader, I guess quick side of our topic. If you were a trader, what would be sort of your move? Like, what would be your thing to sort of calm everyone down from?
Calm everyone down. How
Yeah,
do you mean?
on I guess like in terms of them being like suspicious of you. Like, what would you do to sort
Uh,
of make people not suspicious of you if you're a trader?
well, it really it depends, man, because are they coming at me? And if so, how so, right? Because when
Mm,
like Colin was suspicious of Lauren, and so he was just like, "Oh, who are you gonna send to the farm tonight?" And then she was like, "I wouldn't do that." It's like she just didn't handle it well. Like in that
yeah,
situation, I'd just be like, "You, bro," and then like
yeah,
laugh afterward because then it just looks like I'm not taking it seriously, or
yeah.
something like that. Just kind of go with the joke. If somebody's coming at me very hard, like I think I would become very focused on what my body is doing and try to be, try not to. For example, when sorry, Brody was going for Matt, his like leg was shaking a
Mm,
lot and stuff like that. Like, I would try not to do so. So yeah, it really depends on the situation. I think in a general sense, what you would want to be doing
mm,
at the round table would be obviously throwing out another name quite overtly because why wouldn't you? You know what I mean? Like you don't
yeah,
want to get voted off. I don't think that looks traitory. I think that just looks like you're
mm,
like, bro, like I'm a faithful. I don't want to get voted off. I genuinely believe it could be this person though, you know.
yeah.
And so that, but if it wasn't at the round table, I guess I would be kind of doing a bit of what like Dan was like kind of did like here and there, where it's like you're basically giving people ideas that it's somebody else, but making them think they
Mm,
came up with the plan. Because what I think you don't want to do is to be like, nah, bro, I reckon it's this person. They get voted
yeah,
off as a faithful, and then you're like, oh, I didn't know. You don't want to be stuck in that situation. So I would
yeah.
fully like, I think yeah, like I'm somebody who is very considerate of like how I word things very like particularly.
Mm,
And so I think that I would, take my time to consider how I would want to say what I want to say so that people don't really get what I'm saying, but they think that they're like coming up with, you know, people who could be traitors and stuff and just try to like very subtly like push it away from me. I think that's how I would probably play it.
yeah. I I feel like I would do kind of like what Matt did, just be like, extremely jokey, kind of be a bit over the top and stuff. I feel
Hmm.
like I'm someone who naturally is a bit sus on a couple of things at times, right? But I feel like I'm someone who has personality to kind of get away with a lot of things, and
Yeah, you seem suspicious when you're not doing anything wrong. And so I think if people have had enough time to get to know you, they know like that's just what you're like, that you're not actually being sus. And then so I feel like that, if you could stay in the game long enough, could work to your advantage. Otherwise,
yeah,
no, bro, you're going home fast.
yeah, yeah, pretty much, yeah. Oh yeah, you guys suck. King, I'd have to say that. Yeah, probably. Just like I think we're going to get some of that next week. Actually, I think Kings is just going to go hard. Like, you guys are
I am
terrible
interested to see
sisters.
it.
Yeah,
Speaking of, what's happening in the show, let's get back to that.
yeah, we totally should. We totally should. So anyways, we move along, and Kingsley's going hard after Colin at the round table. Like calling him out how he just agrees with every name and stuff. And Colin, I feel like does a really great job on spinning this back around at Kings to make Kings look even more sus. Because it's like, yeah, you gave me multiple names, and I agreed with it. And then he just immediately shoots those names back at Kings before Kings has any real time to respond. So it sort of says how Kings mentioned Sam, and about how Sam mentioned Anna and stuff. So I quite liked what Colin was doing here. Just really just like sort of darting names back at Kings to make him seem even more untrustworthy, if that makes sense.
The thing with
Yeah.
Kings from what I've observed from this episode, is that I think that he is very like concedable. Like
Mm,
like earlier on, like he had his plan with the whole breakfast thing when he was explaining it to Brooke and Sam. His plan made sense. Like again, it wasn't like the best plan ever, but it made sense, right? And it did technically work. But like when he was explaining it, like Brooke didn't fully get it straight away, nor did Sam. And when they
mm,
asked him about it, Kings is just like, "Oh, I don't know." But it's like, bro, you do know. Like your plan does make sense. And like he
yeah.
just had to like go with it and keep explaining it more. And then at this round table, when he calls out Colin, like, "Oh, you're just being so agreeable and stuff," and Colin's like basically saying that's not true, but it is
Yeah.
true. Like Kings was right. He just had to be
It
like,
was.
actually, no, like that's not what happened. This is what happened,
Mm,
and then kind of rebut against him. You know what I mean? But
yeah.
instead, he just kind of shut down. And I don't know if it's because Kings up until this point, at least as far as what we can see from the edit, he's been more like, polite and doesn't speak up as much and stuff. And so
Mm,
maybe that's just in his nature to not be so combative with people. But I think, like, now that he's actually trying to play the game harder and he's trying to make stuff happen, like if that's what he's doing, he needs to not just like fold as soon as somebody puts the heat back. Um,
yeah.
because then I reckon he can do so. He can make stuff happen, man. Like his
Mm,
plan could have been more concrete. He could have maybe swayed people against Colin if he was just like, "Nah, bro, like Colin, like you're making this up. You were agreeing and whatever."
yeah. I think it comes down to a personality thing as well, right? You've got you have people who just aren't confrontational people, right? So they'll bring something up, but then if you confront them about it, they'll instantly start, closing down, shutting down because they don't want that
Mm.
confrontation, right? And Kings, he seems like a lovely guy, like really, really lovely, right? Super sweet, super innocent. But you can tell that Colin, like even Colin says, like, at the start of the episode that his family and friends always say that, where there's trouble, you'll find him in it. You always
Yeah,
find
right.
find Colin and then stuff. So Colin, he's not afraid to get his hands dirty. He's not afraid to,
Yeah,
really get on there and really go in hard and stuff. We've seen him do it before against Darth Vader, against Dan, against, multiple people. He goes in hard and strong, right? And so I think when you have someone who's just naturally probably not that much into confrontation against someone who is probably into confrontation, there's a bit of a bad
yeah, yeah.
mix
I
of
mean,
the
it didn't
races. Yeah,
it didn't really work out for Kings. Yeah, I don't know. It sucks that like I feel like people are definitely memeing on his plan. I feel kind of bad because yeah, I don't know. I want to stand up for the guy, man. I feel like
yeah,
that it just could have worked.
yeah. I mean, I definitely think you know there are parts of the plan that was actually really smart. I will admit, there was like really, really smart, but he
Maybe
did it in a
maybe if he'd
way
spoken to Brooke and Sam about it before doing it, so it wasn't at breakfast, but it
maybe.
was like, I don't know, like during the day, like
Yeah,
at the challenge, you know what I mean? Like if at the challenge he's like, "Oh, by the way, Brooke, like I've decided, like I'm gonna vote for you," like, and then he
yeah,
still gets half a day, or and he'd spoken at the breakfast or like just after the breakfast before, you know what I mean? Like I don't know,
mm,
if it was better calculated, I think it could have worked well.
yeah, and I'll be perfectly honest. I watched this episode 3 times in total to really understand why. But all I really got was that Vanda seemed suspicious because in this episode she seemed much more confident. I guess so she was a bit more sort of outspoken rather than just be a bit, quiet. Which Julia and Anna were definitely very sort of suspicious of. Like, why is she all of a sudden, now a bit more confident, a bit more outspoken? Is it because she has been, blackmailed to being a traitor? And so we go to the vote, and everyone basically piles onto Vanda. Kings throws his vote onto Colin, and Vanda throws her vote onto Kings. And unfortunately, Vanda is banished. What's your thoughts on Vanda?
I think that she seems nice, man. Like it's yeah, I get it. Like I don't think it was unright that Julia and Anna would be suspicious of her acting different. I think at this point in the game, if you've acted a certain way for so long and then all of a sudden you don't, and particularly the morning after somebody's been blackmailed, it's yeah, man, like it was just bad timing. And I get why Vanda was being different. Like she was trying to clear her name because she realized that there was
Mm,
suspicion on her, and so she was like, "Damn, I need to be more vocal now." and
Yeah.
in fact, that didn't do her much good. And so I think she was kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place. So I don't know. I feel kind of bad for her, and I think that um, you can see that from the faithful as well, that they felt
Mm.
quite bad about this. Like, having
Yeah.
voted off Traitors successfully twice in a row, and then they voted off such a nice, faithful. I think that, yeah, they were probably a little cut about that.
Yeah, definitely. Vanda, she was, she was, heavily shown in the start of the season, but then she slowly, sort of got less and less screen time as the show sort of went on until these last couple of episodes. But from what we saw, I definitely really liked Vanda. I think she's more of a quieter sort of a social player more than a strategic player. But I
Yeah,
definitely do think, you know, like obviously, Brody really helped her out a lot, but the fact that she got out of the second banishment and everyone went for Mike instead of her when the original plan was her, um, yeah, that's obviously very impressive, right? Like while Brody was such an influential force in saving her, Vanda herself was able to get herself out of that situation
yeah,
as well.
yeah.
So,
And
yeah,
I think like I okay, this is the vibe Vanda gives me, right? Like imagine you're like a teenager and you're like at one of your first jobs that you've ever had, right? And you
yeah,
you go there like you're not fully confident, because it's like maybe your first job and like I don't know,
mm,
whatever. And then like so you feel kind of like, a little bit alienated by some of your coworkers, like you feel a little bit intimidated because they know what they're doing. But then there's that one older than you lady, you know what I mean, who's like
mm,
you kind of like look up to her because she's nice and she's just kind of like the adult who's like patient and like doesn't seem intimidating, and you're like, okay, I'm gonna go like be boys with her. Like she gives off
yeah,
that kind of vibe. She gives off the kind of vibe where it's like you could like take comfort with her, you know what I mean?
yeah, definitely, definitely. And and this is where I feel like we get to I think this last sort of scene that we get here at the Shrek's hut is really going to set up what the next week in the finale is going to be all about. Like we're going there,
Yeah, I have some
and
thoughts, bro.
and and Colin, he is immediately unsure about Brooke. He's really very sussed out with Brooke, and he calls him out straight away as well by being like, while Kings was calling me out, why didn't you speak up for me? And Brooke is trying to say, oh, I was doing how I normally sort of communicate by, throwing this out and that out and stuff in sort of short bursts. But no, Colin wants someone who will, like, stand up next to him and be like, no, it's definitely not Colin. But he's just not getting that from Brooke. And I think this friction, which, Andre sort of brings up here, how it's sort of some like, verbal banter between them with a yippee, at the very end. But I think that's all smoke and mirrors, and I think next week they're really going to come head to head against each other.
Yeah,
Maybe not next episode, but like the one
they
at the end
need
of the
different
week.
types of co-traders. Like I think the perfect co-trader for Brooke was Dan. Like they work
Hmm.
not just because they're mates, but just in general, like those personalities work so well together. Brooke doesn't need to be with somebody, or are they like I don't think he would work. I don't think his style works to be with somebody as bold as Colin.
Yeah,
Colin needs somebody who's gonna like have his back in that way. But like I feel like that's too risky for Brooke. Like that, you know what I mean? They're just different types of players as traders. Similar in some ways, similar, yeah, but also quite different. And so I think that it's yeah, definitely causing some friction.
yeah, absolutely. And I think two alpha type players can't work together, right? You definitely need like a beta scenario. And even with Dan and Matt, because I feel like you need the strategist and you need the social player as well, And originally Dan was the strategist, Matt was the social player. Lauren, unfortunately, we didn't get to see much of her to really know if she would have been more strategic or social, but she definitely had a lot of potential. Um, Brooke, I feel like it was a bit of a combination of strategic and social, but once Matt was eliminated, Brooke definitely took over the more social side. But the
Yeah,
thing, but the thing with Colin is that Colin's also social and he's also strategic. So they both kind of have this alpha thing of, oh,
yeah.
I can do what you
They're very
do.
similar in that way,
Yeah.
but they're different in like how they present it, kind of. Where Colin
Mm,
is this very like kind of, and
Yeah,
then Brooke's
yeah,
more kind of like, oh, I'm gonna throw something there, throw something there. Hey, I'm
yeah,
also social. You know what I mean?
yeah, exactly. And there's once again another very interesting chat where Brooke and Colin are talking about the final four, and and Brooke is like, "So Colin, what's your final four?" And Colin immediately doesn't want to say anything. He's like, "No, what's your final four?" And I think, now hear me out on this, Hamish. I think Colin has already planned to throw Brooke under the bus, and he wants the final four to be, the alliance we saw, which is him, Anna, Julia, and Sam.
Mm.
What's your thoughts on that theory?
I feel like my thought on that theory is that that isn't strategic because I my gut feeling tells me that Anna and Julia, when it comes down to it, would team up against Colin, and so I don't think
Mm,
that's in his best interest. I think that what is right here is to recognize that Anna and Julia are two such strong players at this point in the game. Like they hold a lot
yeah,
of power, that little duo. I think primarily because they're so tight knit, and at this point, like having somebody that will vote with you is so important. Um,
mm,
and particularly as Anna is quite outspoken, like I think Anna is a very powerful player right now. So
yeah,
Julia being like her mate is like, and so what I think is so important is to split them up by sending one of them to the farm or voting them out. And so I think what you'd be doing here is voting with Kings because I think Kings is suspicious probably of both Julia and Anna at this point, but he's probably mostly suspicious of. I think he should be suspicious of Anna because Anna's been gunning for Kings for a lot. Um,
yeah,
I mean, it doesn't really matter either way. I think that the smart move is to do what Brooke's doing, which is teaming up with Kings. That, to me, even if it's not for the whole time. No, okay, look, I see this in two ways. This is what I think Brooke should do, you know,
mm,
and this does involve voting out my new allegiance to the new home dog. But like anyway, this is what I think that Brooke should do. Right? I was thinking about this last night. Let's see if I can remember it. So they have to vote out. Oh, sorry. They have to um throw their farm,
hmm,
into the mix
yeah,
of Anna and Julia. One of them has the shield. It's a risk. If they get rid of, and I think they are doing this anyway, but one of those two. But anyway, if they get rid of Julia, rip, then you've got Colin, Brooke, um, Kings, Sam, and Anna.
hmm,
And then that night, you would have to you would have to gun for against Colin. You'd have to. He's already got Kings and probably Sam on his side. I
mm,
think Sam trusts Brooke more than Colin at this point, maybe. And if not, I
yeah,
think I think Sam trusts Kings a lot, and Kings is sold on Colin. And if Brooke, because Brooke and Kings are like pretty tight knit, they're like Julian and
yeah,
Anna, right? And so if those two can talk about it and be like, we have to get Sam on our side, they get Sam, then it's a 3-2. They can
mm,
collectively vote out Colin. Then it's
yeah,
then it's Brooke, Anna, and Sam and Kings, right?
yeah,
And then they send Sam to the farm, right? So now it's just those three: Anna, Brooke, Kings. Kings and Anna are going for each other. They're not going for Brooke. Even if Anna goes for Brooke, then he just votes with Kings, right? And then
yeah,
so basically Brooke just has to vote for one of them, and it doesn't matter, and that's how Brooke wins. If
mm,
he votes for Anna, and then she has the shield, well, she does have the shield, but if he votes for Anna, then it's a little more chaotic than that. And then I think that he has to take out Collins sooner. I think he has to throw. Oh, maybe then he does go for like somebody like Kings and try to get in with Anna. Man, I don't know. I was thinking about that
uh,
this morning at like 5 a.m. and I came up with it and I've forgotten it
while
now
eating the
what the play would
noodles.
be while eating the noodles, bro, on your
Yeah,
carpet. Yeah, no,
yeah,
but like I've forgotten what it was now, but man, it's definitely a more chaotic and risky way. But I think that first way, if they vote out Julia successfully, that to me sounds like the smartest and most like likely, flow of events if they play that strategically.
Yeah, I think that's Brooks' way to the end, 100%.
That's Brooks' way to
But
the end. Yep.
I think any other way is extremely hard if Brooke gets to the end because I think we both agree there's no way Colin and Brooke end up in the finals together,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
the
I think
final
that
four or final three.
for the faithfuls, obviously they don't know who the traitors are, but they know who is volatile, and I think volatility is probably not good for them right now. Because even
Mm,
though Kings is a faithful, he's basically playing for the traitors because of how volatile he is. And so I think
yeah.
Anna and Julia, they need to team up with Colin against Kings because Kings is throwing Colin under the bus. What
Mm,
they want to be doing is getting those three and voting. This is if Anna
yeah.
gets her thing and she blocks it with the shield. So if she's still alive next time, those three need to go for Kings, and then I think Faithful win. I think that would mean because Colin doesn't want to be at the end with Brooke. I think he just wants to have that money for himself, basically. Um, and then that night, Colin would send either Anna or Julia to the farm because obviously he can't. That would be how Colin wins. He needs
Yeah.
to get Kings out, and then with Brooke, he needs to send Anna to the farm, and
Hmm.
then the next day with Julia and Sam, they need to send um Brooke home,
Yeah.
and then I guess Colin would probably vote with whoever he thinks seems more, swayable. I think that's how Colin wins. Whew!
Yeah.
Those are my
Yeah.
predictions. Those are my two predictions for how either trader could win.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Yeah, and Andre brings up a great point here. Colin versus King's final week. Yeah, I think that's what next week is definitely going to come down to as well. If it's going to be Colin versus Kings, then I feel like it's going to be Colin versus Brooke because I think it really depends if they land on Julia. Andre, brings up a comment here where they spoiled who got murdered and or who got sent to the farm in the trial for next week. I don't think they did, and it's because often with their next time ons, they edit in a very specific way. Like I recall when we were watching it, at one point, Sam, he says how that Anna said that she's willing to bet on her children's lives that she's a faithful, right, not a traitor. But the way that got edited in the next time on was as if Brooke had said that, and Sam was calling that out, and how suspicious that was. So I feel
And
like
then
they,
also another example of that is for when Anna was saying to Vanda that you seem more like combative or like you come
mm,
ready for war, um, something to that effect. In the next time on, it looked like she was saying that to Brooke and not to Vanda. So
yeah,
yeah, I'd be wary about the next time ons.
yeah, definitely. It's definitely a great observation because Julie was not in the next time ons, but I think that either they accidentally spoiled
I don't
Julie
think so.
going, or
I think
yeah,
that they
yeah.
didn't show Julia to make it not obvious because if they show Julia, you know that they misfired on Anna.
Oh, true. Yeah,
So that they have to not show her. Otherwise you know for sure.
yeah, exactly.
Hey
And
Dale, my guy, how are you?
your boy Dale is finally showing up. Hey Dale, I still remember us shredding. We shredded chicken together,
Yeah, you guys
right?
shredded
Yeah,
chicken at one of my old flats.
that's right. That's right. It's my only memory of
2021,
Dale.
man.
Yeah, yeah, for your cheeky 21st. But yeah, Colin and Brooke, they're going to risk it for either Anna or Julia. I feel like this is the right move for Brooke, but do you think this is the right move for Colin to risk sending Anna or Julia to the farm?
Oh man, that's that's the thing. Like he needs them. Honestly, like for as I was
Mm,
saying, like I basically explained how I think both traders could win individually, and
yeah,
Colin's way of winning, his road to the end, is by getting rid of Kings, voting with Anna, and oh, whatever. I forgot how I explained it. It made sense though. Just watch it back when this is a
Yeah,
video.
yeah,
But no, he needs Anna and Julia, and then eventually he needs to send Anna to the farm. Yeah, he needs to
yeah,
vote off Kings, and then send Anna to the farm, and then vote off Brooke. I think that's what I said.
yeah. Something along those lines. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm really excited for next week. But before we go more into that, we still need to decide the smartest move of the week. Have you,
Not Robbie, bro. Not Robbie. Don't do this to me. I'm
you
still
know,
grieving.
for me, it was coming down to Robbie or Kings, but I feel like some of our takes have been pretty wild for the smartest move of the week, and I feel like you know what Kings did was wild and completely out there, but technically he was right, but he kind of just did things in the wrong way. So I'm not sure about you, but I'm happy for that to be the smartest move of the week. What's your thoughts? Do you have
Yeah, I mean,
anything
obviously,
different in mind?
some of my inputs, some of my like submissions to this were like fully memeing, like the bros' parents being like, "Margaret's a good middle
Yeah,
name."
yeah.
Um, but nah, I reckon I'll meet you there. I
You
reckon
meet me there?
King's saying, "I'm gonna vote for you, Brooke. I actually trust you. I know you're a faithful." That's
I
my input as well.
yeah, um I just want to let you know, Brooke, that I'm gonna vote for you, not because you're a traitor, but because you are a selfish faithful. But don't worry, I trust you. I've got a plan, I've got to sort it out. But then
But I don't know who we're voting
has a
for though.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
But that I
but
mean
other
that
than
was
that, yeah.
part of the plan that he had to figure it out. Oh
Yeah.
man, you guys are so mean.
But so just to recap all of our smartest moves of the week, we have Sam Fury capping it to grab the 10K, a whole seventh of the prize, like just minutes into the game, and then leaving. We then have your new number one Julia telling everyone that if you vote me out, you're gonna look like a fool afterwards. And then we have the 6 episode plan, which Kimberly's only in it for
For
one
one.
of of her like breakdown of Robbie to get it, eliminated. And then now we've got King's, blowing up on Brooke only
Because he
for
trusts him.
because he trusts him. Yeah, these are very intelligent moves, if you ask me. Let's give a quick round of applause for just how
For Kings.
yeah, for Kings and for everyone. But yeah. Any other comments you want to make before the end of the stream, my friend?
Oh man, that if you're watching this, maybe as a video, or even if you're watching this live and you've seen not the series, or maybe you just watched the most recent ones, honestly, go into 3Now, like the website, or find
Mm,
anywhere that you can watch it. Like I don't watch that much, reality TV. I watch the Survivor seasons that Michael shows me, and I've been watching this now, and like I'm so invested in this show. And so if you want
yeah,
something that is fast paced, but not too fast paced. It's like the perfect pacing, and it's so you're in it, like and with good character or good contestants, I should say. Like, yeah, watch it. And if you have been watching the show anyway, but you haven't watched all of our recaps, feel free to go back and watch them on YouTube. Otherwise, I don't
absolutely.
know where can they find you on social media, Michael?
Oh, well, if you want to see what your boy Mucky is up to behind the scenes, hit me up on Instagram at muckyhope.mh, or you can hit up Hamish. Your name here is exactly your
Yeah,
username on
my
Instagram,
my
right?
my main I have a million Instagram accounts for
Yeah,
different things,
you
but
do, you do.
the hub that's just me is what you see here. First
Yeah.
HTHVSTH. So
Yeah,
that's
definitely.
that.
You can see all the wacky stuff Hamish and I get up to on a weekly basis as well. But if you're new to the channel, please do subscribe. We are very close to reaching 2K, which Chris has promised us that once we've reached 2K, he's going to try and attempt to do the longest stream ever. I'm not sure if that's the longest stream for the nullified take or just the longest stream in general. But either way, he's going to have to somehow beat Kahuna and I in our $1 million island streams, which was pretty much 2 hours every single week. Um, but yeah, subscribe if you're new to the channel. Hopefully everyone enjoyed this week. if you want some more Traitors content, I will be back tomorrow night with Chris and hopefully Kahuna and Tom to recap the third week of the Traitors Australia. So yeah, come check that out if you're into Traitors Australia. But until then, thank you so much for joining this live, everyone. Really appreciate, Andre, you've been awesome. Ava, just want to quickly bring this up from Ava. Yes, we do need to meet up for coffee. It has been too long, Ava. And what's this from Andre? Animal Mucky and Hamish Gloves coming up. Well, hopefully on the nullified tag, but we've also got something else cooking in the background that isn't two-minute noodles.
Which we're actually discussing right as we get off of this podcast.
Exactly.
Ooh.
But yeah, so keep an eye out for that, everyone. But until then, have a great night, everyone. Thank you so much for coming on, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Yippee.